All right. I just finished another stretch of 7. All this shit. Oh my god, get off. Okay. I'm just not going to think about it. Whatever. As I've said before, definitely don't get used to any one type of topic or podcast or genre, whatever. These podcasts are me, every part of me. It's going to be all of me. So whatever you get is what I am. And I'm a lot of things. So check it out. On this 7, right? The topic has come up. Like, we've been talking about, because I work with a lot of veterans. So we've been kind of talking about what it was like to be in. And a lot of our coworkers who were never in are like mind blown. They just can't fathom some of the shit that we had to go through, or, some of the things we had to do, things like that. Um, now, I'm going to preface this with I am no war veteran. I am no hero. I'll summarize my military experience in a handful of minutes for you, real quick. I dropped out of pre med back in 2013. I graduated high school in 2011. I dropped out of pre med in 2013. Um, I had a little more than like 60 something credits at McNeese State University in Louisiana. And then I enlisted in the Marine Corps because I didn't know what else to do with my life. Moving back home and getting help from my parents was not an option, unfortunately. Um, at no fault of their own. Uh, but that's just how it was. There was no way that they could afford to put me through college. I've got 3 younger brothers, and uh, unless we had earned scholarships and were putting ourselves through, college was really not an option. Uh, I had scholarships, I had tops, I had all of that good stuff, and then I wound up taking a semester off of college when my little beater car broke down. And I thought I was going to save up some money, go right back, have another little beater car to make it through. Unfortunately, when I took that semester off, they dropped all my scholarships. I was a stupid kid. I didn't know that's how that worked. I should have read the fine print, I guess. But anyway, uh, I'm not sad that it happened. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in September of 2013, and I went to Parris Island, South Carolina for boot camp. I had no idea up until the end of Marine combat training in Fort or camp, whatever the fuck, in North Carolina. I don't really remember what it's called. I don't remember where MCT takes place, to be honest. It's been a long time. But I didn't know what my MOS was until then. I had no fucking idea. I left on an open contract. I was supposed to be Intel. I was waiting for an Intel contract to open. It wasn't happening. My recruiters were kind of just, waiting around. I was waiting around, and I was like, "Hey, like, is there any way I can get out of here faster?" I've been DEPT for 6 months, which is the delayed entry program. They get you physically fit for boot camp and get you. They start teaching you things that you need to know, like basic military knowledge, stuff like that. So I was ready to go. I was like, "Look, man, I got nothing here for me." Or, "Look, Gunny, I got nothing here for me at this point. Like, I gotta go." So I'd been bouncing around from recruiter to recruiter during that time. I'm sure it's got something to do with the numbers that they were putting up, but my recruiter at that time was like, "Hey, man, you want to leave open contract?" And I was like, "Yeah, what is that? When can I leave?" He was like, "Well, that's whenever we pick your job for you, and you can leave like in as soon as 2 weeks." And I thought to myself, this was an option the whole fucking time, and no one told me this. So obviously I took it because I was desperate. I had nothing going for me. I had nothing to my name but the clothes on my back. And I was like, cool, let's do this. So I left for MEPS. There was some kid's paperwork who fell through. I was supposed to ship out from New Orleans to boot camp, and when I got to MEPS the first time, they unfucked his paperwork, and he was actually able to leave. So I had to go back home, and I was like, "What do I do?" I just clocked out and told my manager at Lowe's in the lumber department that I was leaving for boot camp. So I had no job to go back to. I left for boot camp, for a career change, for a military career on my lunch break. So he said, "Hey man, it's cool. One more week. That's all you got to wait. We'll be able to get you out of here." I said, "Okay, cool." So he tells me to come by the office one day, and I'm like, "All right, cool." I swing by the office, and my gunny's like, "Hey, uh, out of two jobs, there were two jobs available. Out of the two of them, I picked one for you, but I want you to tell me which one you would have picked just in case. Papers are already signed. I just want to play this game." And I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." So I'm like, "Okay, what are they?" "Okay, one, small electronics repair, or two, communications." So I'm thinking, and I'm like, I don't know, military. I have no military context. I have no fucking idea what either one of those are. Communications. That was honestly just like shot in the dark. I had no idea what either of them were. I really didn't care at that point. So he's like, "Yeah, that's the one I picked for you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome." So what does that mean? He's like, "Oh, you're gonna work with like computers or shit like that." I'm like, "Oh, cool. That's pretty neat." Not what I wanted. I honestly wanted an infantry job, but with an ASVAB of I think it was 86. They were like, "No, man, no, absolutely fucking not, not infantry." And I'm like, "Why?" Guess what? My MOS was in communications. 0621 field radio operator. If you don't know, now you know. We work so closely alongside the infantry that we can smell them. We're like, sometimes they used to be called like battery powered grunts, things like this. Now, I am in no way claiming infantry. I know that offends a lot of guys who were non pogue, who were grunts. I I embrace the pogue. I don't really give a fuck. I was a pogue. I was in 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines for 3 years. Um, I handled a lot of the EKMS stuff, which is like their crypto. I inventoried radios. I went out to the field with these guys. I helped build comm plans. I did a lot of shit like in that scope, you know. And then we deployed as the 24th MU. I was on the USS Iwo Jima. We went out with the Fort McHenry, the USS New York, and I think that was the three of them. And we went out to the Mediterranean Sea at the end of 2014 through mid to late 2015. Floated off of Yemen for a long time, got stood up and sat back down several times. Um, I did nothing on that deployment except EKMS. I was the crypto guy for all the units across all three of the ships. I went and worked up in this little ship communications area a couple nights out of the week or whatever. Inventoried radios over and over and over again. Uh, Issued crypto to all these different guys, all these different units, made sure everyone was squared away comms wise. Did a whole lot of fucking nothing, man. Honestly. Did a whole lot of fucking nothing on a ship for 7 months. Um, so we came back. I say it was a whole lot of fucking nothing. Obviously, I was busy, but effectively, I felt like I've accomplished nothing, you know? Anyway, we come back stateside after deployment, and they tell us, hey, in 6 more months, we'll be working up for another Mew. Our other option was in 6 months, we work up for this Mew, or you can go down the hall to 6th Marine Regiment. They're going to Afghanistan. I said, fuck the boat. I'm not getting on that thing again. Send me to Afghanistan. So let me think. In 2017, like March of 2017, I was promoted to sergeant. Yeah, it was like a 4 year sergeant or 4.5 year. I don't know. At some point, I got promoted to sergeant pretty quick. It was before they changed a whole bunch of things and made the promotion system a little more difficult for everyone. But I wound up picking up the billet of platoon sergeant at 6th Marine Regiment. Um, I worked up for a year for deployment, trained a whole bunch of officers and all our other attachments who were going on this deployment too. Um, we had 81 guys in 6 Reg across like all the techs, the I think they call them mucksters or the transmission system operators, which is what they call all of us now. Apparently, I think the 0621 has been done away with. But anyway, and the data guys across all of us, across all the different sections, there were like 81 guys. Uh, they took 6 on deployment. They took a couple staff and O, which are um, like higher enlisted guys and officers, and one young man who could do literally every fucking one of our jobs. The guy was fucking brilliant. Happy for him. He went on deployment. He came back. He got some experience. You know, fucking stellar Marine, man. Um, anyway, all the rest of us, of the 81 of us, 6 of us left. I stayed stateside. I did not get to go. All of my buddies who were in 3-6 went to Syria instead of sat on a boat for 7 months like we had prior. So obviously, I'm kicking myself. I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? So the time is approaching quickly, since I'd been promoted to sergeant, to pick a B billet. Combat instructor wasn't a thing anymore at that point. Uh, we could be a recruiter or a drill instructor. So I'm asking all my friends, I'm like, hey, like, which route do I go? I don't know what the fuck I don't know what I'm doing, man. Like, which one is better? Which one's better for my family? Because in 2017, my wife also got pregnant for my oldest daughter after having a miscarriage and having to go on fertility treatment and all this other stuff. I'm like, hey man, what is the better option for like having any semblance of a family life? They're like, dude, recruiting is the most toxic assignment you will ever undertake. I was like, why? Why is that the worst one? I'm like, can I go like work back home in Louisiana, or like how is that one so bad? Wouldn't a drill instructor be way worse? And they're like, no, absolutely not. If you want any kind of family life, drill instructors have a very strict schedule. Everything is so scheduled. As a recruiter, everything is super flexible. You will be chasing these little shitbirds, these high school kids, and trying to keep them sober, out of trouble, trying to get them off the maps. They'll change their minds. They'll do all this stuff. It's the hardest fucking thing you're ever gonna do as far as a B billet goes when it comes to like certainty. They said drill instructor, obviously way harder on your body, every part of it, but at least you will know like exactly what's happening. So I thought about it for a while and I was like, okay, drill instructor it is. Paris Island, here I come. I had a buddy call me up from HMX1 in Quantico, Virginia. And he said, hey, what are you doing for the next 2 to 3 years? I said, hey, drill field, I guess. So he's like, no, fill out a package to come up here. I'm going to email it to you in a second. Submit it now before you do anything else today. And one of our recruiters is going to reach out to you. I'm like, well, what about my B billet? He says, this is a special duty assignment. You won't have to worry about a B billet anymore. So I'm like, shit, that sounds nice. Little did I know, I wasn't going anywhere for a year. It took a year to complete the blah, blah, blah. It took a year to complete the background investigation for this job, but I got it. Uh, I got cleared. I got accepted to go up there. If you know, you know. I wrote 0 statements. Background clean as a fucking whistle. So I get up there and um, like the people who know me know that in person I can come off as kind of an idiot, but I'm definitely not an idiot. Uh, I excelled in this unit pretty quickly. I passed out like this. One of my staff sergeants. I won't name any names. I fucking love this guy. I haven't talked to him in a while, but this guy's my fucking brother. I actually met him on deployment in 3-6 back on that MU from 2014 to 2015. I worked with him a little bit. Had no idea who he was. Um, Met him again at this unit at HMX1, and I'm like, holy fuck, I know this guy. Uh, he wound up being in charge of me, and also one of the most stellar Marines I've ever met in my whole life. One of the smartest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. This man pushed me so hard to pass the training so quickly, and I loved him so much for it, but holy shit, it was rough. I, I did not have a life up there, which is expected. You're in a training pipeline for a unit where you can go away if you don't fit the team in any type of way. That can be your personality. That can be, it can be a lot of different things. If you're not a good fit for the team, you have to go. So these guys loved me, and I loved them. But unfortunately, in 2019, I developed psoriatic arthritis. If you don't know what psoriatic arthritis is, if you are part of my audience that is less nursing and more military, or if you're nursing and you've never heard of that one before, you get psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis, essentially. Uh, Best of both worlds. It was so bad. I had the plaque psoriasis in the corners of my eyes on either side, inside and outside corners of my eyes, both inside and behind my ears, on my elbows, all over my hands. My fingernails were peeling off. I had it on my knees, belly button, groin, and I think that's pretty much it, which is honestly enough places. Uh, so I had the psoriasis, which I was taking topical steroids for a short time, and then I developed the rheumatoid aspect of it, and like this finger is permanently hyperextended, my ring finger. That thing swelled up so big, I had to take my ring off, and I couldn't wear it again for a year. I had what they call sausage digit, which is when your finger swells up real big, and it was like purple and swollen, and I really couldn't use it. Um, Both of my hands, different joints started being affected at different times. And then one day I woke up and it was basically all throughout my neck, my elbows, my hands, both knees, my ankles, toes. I could feel it on the balls of my feet. Uh, and I think it was like my left shoulder at the time and my left hip. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I thought that's just what aging in the Marine Corps felt like, because that's pretty much what aging in the Marine Corps feels like. Um, because I let it go on for so long and I had no idea what it was, I have some permanent joint damage, especially in my neck. My neck is, it fucking kills me every day. I don't take anything for the pain. Um, I don't know why. I just don't. When it flares up and it hurts, it just hurts. I don't really do anything about it. I just try to avoid the flare ups. Now, I don't know why I developed this. It's not a family thing. No one in my family has it. We don't have any like autoimmune diseases or anything like that in my family. But I was prescribed Humira, which is an immunosuppressant, and they told me I was, from that point on, permanently non deployable. This kicked off a med board and wound up in my eventual medical separation from the Marine Corps. Packed all my shit and sent my wife and my daughter home in 2019. And I didn't get to leave. They told me it would be a few short weeks to maybe 3 months tops. I was stuck in Quantico with my family in Louisiana until May 5th of 2020. That's when I went on terminal leave. I threw all my shit in a 26-foot Penske. Peak COVID, everything was still locked down. The roads were empty, thank God, because that is the first time I've ever driven a vehicle that big. Uh, so I move home, and my wife and I, at the time, we decided that going back to pre med was a bad idea because I wouldn't have a job for a really long time, right? Which is kind of not good for, having a small child, a wife, needing to support them. There was no way that I could do it at the time. So what we did was we bought a house down in Lacassine, Louisiana, and I decided to go to school for nursing. My wife asked me, "Do you think you're nice enough to be a nurse?" And bless her heart, she was right. At the time, I was not nice enough to become a nurse. It took a lot of decompressing. I was still very Sergeant Babineau from 3-6 and 6 Reg, even being in HMX 1 for the almost 2 years that I was there. Um, I was very much so still Babineau and not Brock. Uh, I had been going to therapy because something was just off, and my wife noticed it way before I did. You don't like doing the things you like to do anymore. You don't have energy. You're sleeping all the time. Something's wrong. Like, this isn't you. So I started going to therapy, and they're like, "Hey, man, you've got an adjustment disorder," which led to an eventual diagnosis of depression. I've got some chronic depression that I take Zoloft for, 150 milligrams a day. Great stuff. Um, Honestly, like, I can't live without the shit. I mean, I can, but like, I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. Um, but I take this stuff. Initially, getting on it sucked. Uh, just like nausea, whatever side effect you could get from it, I got from it, but only for 2 weeks at a time while they were titrating my dose up, and I was kind of leveling out. Which, if you're out there and your doctor is recommending an SSRI and you think you need one, this is not medical advice. This is a former Marine advice. Give it a shot, ride it out, see how it makes you feel after a couple months. Give it like 2 months. It takes a long time for the medication to peak in your system for you to reach like, an effective dose and for it to actually work for you. Me and a few of my friends are on it and we love the shit. So, um I was also afraid that I wouldn't be smart enough for nursing. I didn't have much to lose aside from setting myself back and having to search for another career or another job if it didn't work out. But Financially, I used the GI Bill for my entire BSN. Luckily for me, some of my credits from pre med rolled over, so I only had to do like 3.5 years instead of 4 years. Is basically what it broke down to. And um, I love my job. I love this career. Nursing is so flexible. The idea behind picking nursing was that I had an interest in the medical field. I want to help people. I want to make a difference. And I needed a job that would be pretty consistent. Like I could have consistent work. There were always sick people. Sick people will always need nurses. And I needed something flexible enough that if my joints flared up and I became unable to use my hands or whatever, I could still do the job from a desk, remotely, whatever. So nursing was a good fit for me. Um, the Humira stopped working about 8 months after I was taking it, and a really good friend of mine was helping me. Like he didn't want to live in the barracks anymore before I'd come home. This was before I came home. My Humira stopped working. My joints were so angry at me. I had like some rebound inflammation, and everything got so much worse. Um, he was helping me like tie my shoes and lock my doors just because I had no strength in any of my joints. I could barely like squeeze my hands shut to do anything. Everything hurt so bad. I was fucking miserable. They switched me to methotrexate and Cosentyx. Methotrexate was just to kind of bridge me until from the Humira to the Cosentyx until the Cosentyx kicked in. Methotrexate gave me such horrible vertigo. I couldn't take it anymore. Um, the Cosentyx reached, peak therapeutic levels, and I was good to go on just the Cosentyx. I took it for years until 2023 or 4, maybe. It was like 2023. I think it was like right after. So I graduated nursing school in December of 2023. My youngest daughter was born 5 days before graduation. Uh, they switched me from Cosentyx to Taltz. This stuff is awesome. As long as the USPS gets it to my house in time. Um, my medications are 100% covered, which I'm thankful for because they cost like $3,000 a shot, and I got to take one shot a month. Um, but like I said, the stuff works great. Inflammation is minimal. I really only feel it whenever the weather changes and it gets really cold, or I get really stressed because unfortunately, stress is something that will cause psoriatic arthritis to flare. Again, I have no idea how I got this stuff. They said it could have been stress induced. I learned in nursing school could also have come from the anthrax vaccines. There's a number of different things that happened while I was in that could have caused this. We had jet fuel in our drinking water for like a day and a half on the USS Iwo Jima at one point. When we'd go on hikes, uh, everybody who has been a Marine knows this, but all of your uh, all of your cans, like your fuel cans and your water cans, look identical, aside from the fact that one is tan and one is brown. If you know anything about junior Marines, you know they're going to fuck that up. So there are lots of times where we were drinking water out of a water can that had previously been filled with diesel for the Humvees. And so we would try to mask it with like MRE Kool-Aid powder so that it wouldn't taste so bad, but we still had to drink the shit or go thirsty and risk dehydrating and falling out of a hike. And if you know what happens when you fall out of a hike, I drank the fucking diesel Kool-Aid. I'm not getting the silver bullet. um anyway, that's the not long, the not short version of how I got here today. Uh After the post 9/11 GI Bill covered all of my BSN, I took a semester off to be home with my wife and my newborn and get some work experience, get orientation out of the way. I became a NICU nurse. I worked in the NICU until so many of our providers left that we really had such a low census that we were on call back and call off like every other shift. I had no choice. I needed full time hours. I started picking up other places. I started working a second job, a med surge job at a Christus facility in med surge, PRN. I hated it. And then I was picking up shifts in the OR at women's campus, like pulling 16-hour shifts. Like right after I'd leave the NICU, if I got to work in the NICU, I would go to surgery, work surgery a few hours, they'd wrap, and then I'd go home. And then I started picking up in the ER. I love the ER. I love the NICU, but something about both scratch a different itch. Um, I can be OCD. I can love the structure and the same thing every day of the NICU. I can love the organization and the type A personality that goes with that. But I can also be very much type B, which is more along the lines of what your ER nurses are. It's different every day. You're never going to have the same thing, even with your frequent flyers, even if you have the same people in the ER, you will not be seeing the same thing every day. Those shifts are the fastest 12-hour shifts I've ever worked in my life. After I started picking up in the ER, um, there was very limited space for me there because there were so many new grads starting orientation and everything. So what I did was left the NICU for the ER full time. Oh my God. I left the ER. I left the NICU for the ER full time, and then I left myself open to then pick up shifts in the NICU if they needed me. So I went back to school. I started an FNP program. Um, I was supposed to graduate last December, but since life has happened and I've got 5 classes to go, um, 3 clinical rotations left, and then I will graduate and take boards, fully pass, and keep this train rolling. But I love this field.